what do you know? This is the Melbourne Live Show, and how's everyone doing? Right. So just want to make sure that you are all um, that you all can hear me, right? So, well, in any case, we're gonna go. We're gonna start with this. All right. So, how's everyone doing? And this is the Melbourne Live Show, and today we are gonna be talking about traffic. No, we're not talking about the type of traffic that you get stuck in when you're on the road, but the kind of traffic that we're talking about here is traffic to the website itself. So this whole week, essentially, the whole premise is looking at creating a profitable newsletter. And the reason why we want to create a profitable newsletter is because we wanted to have the ability to use that newsletter to, on one hand, educate our audience, on the other hand, to be able to nurture them so that at the end of the day, we are able to make them an offer. And the way to think about that is that really at the end of the day, what we want to do is to be able to solve a problem, because essentially being an entrepreneur, being a business person, having a business, the whole idea behind that is to solve a problem. And that problem has to be something that it's feasible, that it's viable, and that is desirable. So that is the whole premise behind, um, the newsletter itself. Now, of course, in the process of creating the newsletter, we have talked about how are we going to be able to find the right topic so that we know that the topic itself is profitable, because you wouldn't want to, unless it's just a hobby, you wouldn't want to essentially just create something and not know whether it is profitable or not. Now, the other thing, of course, is how do we find our audience, and how do we get them in such a way that they kind of we choose them rather than for them to choose us. And so today, what I'd like to share with you is this idea of generating traffic to your website itself. So right now, if you head on down to melbourne.me, what you will see is what we call a landing page. Now, on that landing page itself, there are essentially just two things for you to do, right? Let me just show you in a minute. So you see what I'm talking about in a minute, right? So there you have it. Um, what you see right here is essentially the landing page that you go to, that you will see if you go to melbourne.me. Now, on this page itself, essentially what I have is, I talked about the one person $1 million business, because that's the entire focus that I am putting into right now. So the whole premise behind that is that, not too long ago, building $1 million business with no employees was hardly imaginable. Today, more than 80% of all small businesses in the US are non-employee firms. Besides, the number of them earning 1 million and above have increased by 55% over the last decade. The dream of building a one-person $1 million business is now a possibility. Only thing left for you to do is to start. Right? I started the journey of transforming my trading time for money business into a digital business in 2015. I also teach others to do the same. Get my weekly newsletter where I share the best resources and ideas I have tested for building a one-person, 1 million or digital business. And so there is only one action at the end of the day for you to take. And that one action is essentially for you to put in your email address and to opt into the newsletter. Because, at the fine print there, I say, well, not sure, then read the latest issue here, right? And so if you click on that, you'll be introduced to the latest issue. And from there, if you think that this is for you, then obviously you would want to subscribe to my newsletter itself. So if you're looking at, wanting to be able to um, build a one person, 1 million all digital business, then definitely this is the newsletter that you want to get. Now, what I would like to share with you is, how do you get people to come to the website? Because the thing is that, the idea of build it and they will come isn't going to work, right? Because, and the other thing is that these days, how many of us really reference a particular website, i.e., you bookmark a site and you go to that site like almost every day to look for something. It's very, very rare and it's very, very few these days, right? Because most of the time, people tend to do things via social media. That's it. The website is far from there. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about what are some of the strategies that I use when it comes to generating traffic. Now, there are many ways to generate traffic. And so if I were to break it down into maybe two or three ways, right? These are the three ways that you can generate traffic. And we go from fast to slow. That's why the title of this episode is talking about how you get your audience to come to your website fast and slow. But there is a slow way. The good thing about the slow way is that over time you build this network effect, you build this flywheel, and once you build up to a sizable amount, the thing will just take off. Now, of course, the not so good part about this method is that it's going to take you a long time. Now, in today's context itself, for you to get to that level, it's going to be really, really difficult. So what we're talking about here is that is one way, that is a sustainable way, and in the long run, that's what you want to go after. However, let's be realistic here, because by the time you wait till you are able to build up to that sizable amount, it's probably too late. Now, so what is the other way to do that? Of course, the other way to do that, as I mentioned earlier on, is that these days, just about anybody and everybody is on social media. And so obviously, if you're not using social media as a platform to get people to come to your site, then obviously you're missing out. Now, but then the thing is, how do we get noticed on social media itself? Well, that goes into a second part of this where we talked about how we are able to create content and to be able to pocket on a social media and to build it from there. Now, that's a separate topic altogether, but I will get into that in the calculated courses itself. Now, then, of course, the third way is what I call the sponsored way. Now, the sponsored way, in a nutshell, what it means is that, instead of relying on search or relying on social, you rely on sponsored posts. And this is where you put money into a post itself. So many a times people think that, well, the way to do that is that you pay money and you put an ad and you get people to go to a landing page. Well, that can work, right? Provided you have a strong value proposition itself. But what's even more effective is if you're able to create content and then show it as an ad to people and drive people there, right? So what people want to see is that, hey, this is something that is going to help solve my problem. And if this is able to help solve my problem, then obviously, I see this as beneficial and I definitely would want to subscribe. And of course, if the group of people that you show to and they don't see this as a problem, then obviously they would not subscribe. It's just as simple as that. So the key idea behind here is that there is a fast and slow way. Now, when we talk about fast way, which is via sponsored post itself, what we're saying here is that, you can build up really, really fast. However, of course, you got to take into account the amount of investment and cost that you're going to put in. And on top of that, every time you put up an ad on Facebook, for example, um, people can go into the Facebook ad library and they can see all the possible ads that you have ran in the past, right? And so, it's no longer something that you can keep it private from other people. Obviously, if that's what, you are looking at going into, then that's something that you would have to take into consideration, right? But in any case, so the fast way really is to, put in money and to be able to use that as a platform, as a way to kind of generate interest. And more importantly, I think is to test whether that solution or your solution to that problem is that something that what people want. So for example, going forward next week, what we're going to be putting out was that we are going to be putting out a series of ads to test if the solution that we are providing is something that people want. Because right now, as we look at what's out there, it seems like yes, that's something that people want, but we never know for sure until someone pulls out a credit card and buy it, right? Without that, it's you can do all the validation, you can do all the research you want, but you still need the validation itself. And so the best way to kind of validate that and to validate that inexpensively is to actually create something and to be able to put it up there and and propose to people, right? The group of people that you want to serve, propose to that group of people that, hey, I can solve your problem. If this is your problem, this is how I'm going to solve it, right? And if you are able to get their attention and they are able to say that, yes, this sounds interesting, I am willing to consider, then, you have something in your hand. But if no one opts in and no one cares about it at all, then obviously there are a few things that you have to consider. One is, of course, the people that you're showing to are the wrong group of people, right? That could be reason number one. Now, reason number two is that this group of people are the right group of people, but the solution that you are providing is not something that they are looking for, right? Maybe because it requires more work, more investment, and that's not something that they're prepared to do. Now, the third reason is they could be the right group of people and your solution could be the right solution, but just now isn't the right time. And so, what we like to say that in order for this whole thing to work, your stars must be aligned with them. You must show it to the right people, the right solution at the right time. Once you get all three line up itself, that's where you kind of hit the groove run itself. Nonetheless, it's something that we will have to test. And very often I can tell you beforehand that, the first few run, you are probably not going to see much results itself, right? But essentially it's for us to be able to recognize what's going on and to be able to make the tweaks along the way so that we are able to, arrive at what our end goal is. So at the end of the day, I think what's really, really important is the following. You need to put it out there, you need to test, and you need to get people to help you validate that. That's the only way you can, establish whether what you're doing is good to go or not. Right? Well, I hope this has been useful to you. If it has, please drop me a comment. Let me know that it's been useful. If you got a question, please feel free to, drop a question in the comments. I read all the comments itself, and I will take the time to respond to each and every comment. And if there's something that you'd like me to cover in the show, feel free to as well to leave it in the comment, and I'll be more than glad to look at that. And if it's something that I think my viewers would be able to benefit from that, I will, be more than glad to share it with you. Okay, so with that, take care, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.